Greetings and welcome back to the Portraits in Fitness channel. My name is David, and this is my 5-week update on my experience consuming an all animal-based diet, otherwise known as carnivore. I'm trying to avoid the word journey, and instead I like to think of it as an application of lifestyle medicine. And sure enough, I'm enjoying many of the benefits of this lifestyle medicine. So what I'd like to do today is first tell a little story, and then I'm going to go into what's working for me so far and what's not working, and maybe a little bit of looking ahead. And I'm going to try and keep it nice and tight in one take. So here we go. So a couple days ago, my wife and I hosted some lovely young people over at our home, and right here, in fact. And as usual, I love to cook for people. That's one thing that I just get almost more pleasure out of, serving people food that I prepared, than almost any other form of social interaction. I just love it. People tend to like my cooking. It's not the greatest in the world, but I do take pride in it. And I used to enjoy consuming it as well, and joining our guests in doing that. In fact, I used to cook every Friday night for a small group that would gather at our home. And, well, that's been a bit modified recently. However, I still like to cook for people, and this is no exception. So pulled out all the stops, and I prepared one of my favorite dishes of all time. It's a Taiwanese dish called lu rou fan, which is a braised pork belly dish. And the braised part is really, it's kind of saturated in soy sauce and some herbs and spices, and it's delectable, and it's served over rice. And as the Taiwanese like to say, it makes the rice go down, because you just want to slather that sauce from the fat and the soy sauce and all the different seasonings right over that rice, and just have more and more rice. So it's a favorite dish. I made it for our guests. And the important part to note really is that I was able to cook that for them and serve it to them, and really have no regrets at not joining them and consuming it, even though it is supremely delicious. And I made myself something else in air fryer, and they worked out well. And then one thing that came up during our conversation that I hadn't really thought of too much, it's just funny the way people fixate on like what you're missing rather than the benefits or what's going well. And so they asked me, just making conversation, I'm sure, but what do you miss most from, your previous standard American diet or with modifications? And I said, without really thinking about it, fruit, specifically watermelon. And I regaled them with the story of me back when I was living in Taiwan, and people used to call me 西瓜大王, which means watermelon king, especially over the hot summer months, because I could literally just eat watermelon, copious amounts of it, during the hot summer months in Taiwan. And I would end up losing a lot of weight and felt great. And yeah, that was the first that came to mind. Taiwan has wonderful fruit, and one day maybe I'll taste it again. But that was my answer. But actually, on second thought, when I'm consuming what I prepare in this carnivore lifestyle, I find myself still missing hot sauce. And so really what that is telling me is that I developed some kind of a crutch or an addiction to hot sauce, and my body, kind of like people crave sugar, probably craves that stimulation from the spices and that stimulation of the palate as well. So it's a signal, and I certainly used to slather a lot of hot sauce over many different things, meat and omelets and all sorts of things, potatoes, whatever. I just love hot sauce, particularly Tapatio and Tabasco, especially Tapatio. So that's just a little story about that. So now I'm going to get into what is working for me at the 5-week point and what is not. So energy is really nice and steady. I haven't had too many ups and downs. The other day I shot a triathlon race, the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon in San Francisco. I got up at 4:25 in the morning. I brought some hard-boiled eggs with me as something to consume. Usually in the past, I used to take Cliff Bars with me. Shout out to my neighbors at Cliff Bar. They're literally down the street from me here. And I'm not consuming Cliff Bars any longer. So I brought some hard-boiled eggs and ended up just a bit peckish at about maybe 1 p.m. or so. So I consumed 4 hard-boiled eggs. But in general, really not feeling hungry or famished at all. My appetite in general is really just either on or off, as I've mentioned before. There's not much in between. And in general, I'm still OMAD 1 meal a day. And once in a while, I will find myself maybe just a little bit feeling the need for some fat earlier in the day. And so I'll just literally have a bit of a scoop of butter. I keep it out on the counter so it's nice and soft. I'll just take a spoon and I'll have a spoonful of butter, and that usually tides me over. But if I am hungry, I usually make some eggs of some sort and occasionally bacon, but usually just some eggs. I love hard-boiled eggs. I love soft-boiled eggs. I love scrambled eggs. I love sunny side up eggs. I love eggs over easy. I love eggs. So that's something that I'll make. But in general, I find myself lasting until mid to late afternoon. And I'm good with either a very light meal, like those eggs in the morning, or nothing at all until my main meal in the evening. And what I typically have is a meat dish. I made steak bites recently. Yesterday, I made a carnivore style Scotch egg, which is just tremendous. Look it up if you don't know what that is. Other than that, my cravings are really minimal, apart from, like I said, hot sauce. When I do come out with a plate of meat, I would just, maybe it's just a compulsion or habit. I just want to slather on some hot sauce, but that's not happening because lifestyle medicine, right? My sleep is, I fall asleep really quickly, which is typical, but I do find that I'm waking up more rested than in the past. My wife and I like to say, typically, like if we're really tired, I'm so tired, I feel like I got hit by a Mack truck. Well, I haven't felt like I got hit by a Mack truck in my sleep of late, even getting up early in the morning. So that's going well. Lastly, as far as what's working, I am, again, not obsessive about my weight, but I have been getting on the scale, and I do have really good news to report, and that is my total fat loss. I'm going to call it fat loss rather than weight loss. My fat loss is probably more than 20 pounds, but I've officially reached the 20 pounds off my frame mark, and I'm looking forward to reaching my next threshold or my next milestone very shortly. I'm just on the brink, and I am confident I'll be able to announce that arrival at that milestone pretty shortly. So that's what's working. And what is not working, or my existing challenges, include the skin, the rosacea that I've been dealing with. And it popped up somewhere in, I'd say, late spring, about this time of the year, 4 years ago, 2020. And it's been mostly on, sometimes off, on again, off again, but mostly on in patches and maybe flare-ups here and there ever since. So I've been dealing this for a while, and it's just, having the understanding that I do of the way the body works. I know my body's trying to get rid of some kind of toxicity. And, it could be childhood. I did have eczema as a very young child. In fact, I almost died from it at one point. I don't recall exactly what the deal was, but I think it was kind of a histamine reaction. And I had exercise-induced asthma in high school when I began to do long-distance running, and I used to have to run with an inhaler of Ventolin. To me, that's just my body trying to get rid of the toxins that I was exposed to at some point, whether dietary or childhood. We weren't exposed to 72 of them on the schedule like they are now, However, I do feel confident in my body's ability to clear toxins. So that's always been a good thing. And when I get out in the sun, I just find that my body really clears toxins really well. So I'm just trying to get more sunlight and direct sunlight on my skin as well. And I am finding with the elimination of seed oils from my diet, I am tanning a little differently, a bit more dark. And in fact, the other day when I shot that race, I didn't wear a hat for most of the day. I allowed myself to get direct exposure on my bald or balding pate, the top of my head, and I didn't get burned. So maybe there is something to this whole thing about seed oils pretty much promoting the burning of the skin. So there you go. They blame everything on the sun itself. The sun isn't good. Well, what are you putting on your skin? What are you putting into your body? What are you ingesting? My belief is that suntan lotion or cream is not beneficial to us, in that we are meant to get full sunlight. And if we have issues with too much exposure, number one, eliminate seed oils. But number two, just cover up. Put some reflective, light colored material over yourself. Go put a safari hat or a floppy hat on and cover up. Don't put chemicals on your skin that can be absorbed through your pores. As you know, the skin is our largest organ. So I've not used any suntan lotion or block for decades now, and don't regret it at all. One last issue that's kind of not working for me is the continued rear kidney pain. I believe it's the kidney area. It's the lower left side of my back. But interestingly enough, this is expanded, this little kind of a blockage area, especially when I wake up in the morning. I sleep on my back very often. Even if I fall asleep on my side, I end up on my back. And then I find this tightness and a blockage in my lower left back. And recently it's expanded and migrated to become a bit of a soreness, kind of a patch down my left thigh. And I was just thinking about it today, reflecting on it, wondering, I had some serious back issues that developed on New Year's Day of 2015, and that was localized exactly where I'm feeling the pain. So getting back to, my body, maybe going through some healing trauma or eliminating some issues, it very well could be my body healing up on this carnivore approach to diet and lifestyle. And it's just a healing trauma. It's taking a little while. So I wanted to share that. And at this point, I'm still not alarmed. And full disclosure, my objective is to be totally honest about everything. So what's not working, I'm not going to gloss anything over or paint everything in a really rosy picture. One thing I feel that I'm a bit wary of is I really enjoy drinking these powders from a company that sponsors a lot of carnivore channels on YouTube. And it's salty and it's delicious. And I think I've become a bit addicted to at least one of these mason jars full, which is probably 32 ounces. I mix it up and it tastes delicious and it gets me electrolytes. However, I've just learned from a podcast that Dr. Anthony Chafee did a while back that stevia is high in oxalates. So not good for me. There is a neutral flavor, like an unflavored raw version of this powdered drink that begins with an L. And I will continue to consume that, but the flavored versions have stevia in them. So I'm going to go cold turkey on those. Unfortunately, I have a few packets left, and I'm just going to have to donate them to somebody that would not mind having some stevia in their life, because I'm getting off of it. I want to detox from oxalates and not introduce any more oxalates into my system. One last note about coffee, and that is I'm still continuing to drink one nice strong mug of coffee in the morning. Sometimes I forget. feeling like I'm breaking the addiction a little bit. It's loosening up maybe. And however, I do feel that after I've had a cup of coffee, I do feel a little bit elevated, a little better. And I do try to have a nice, probably 20 ounces of water with some salt in it. I'm making Soleil water, which I learned thanks to a tip from my friend Catherine. Shout out to Kat. Thanks for all your support. She's on the carnivore lifestyle medicine dosage as well. And Kat tipped me to Dr. Judy Cho's page, and she demonstrates how to make Soleil water. Basically, it's just you dissolve a good quality salt in water and until it becomes super saturated so that it can't dissolve anymore. And then you just take a tablespoon or two with between 8 and 16 ounces of water a day. And I've been having a little bit more than that because I did feel myself cramping up a little bit. So that's about it. I'm not taking any other supplements. I'm considering taking maybe iodine supplements at some point and maybe some magnesium supplements, but I feel just fine. I haven't gone running this week. I've just had these back issues that have really cramped my style, and especially in the morning. So I haven't been to the gym. I have, however, been doing some back exercises and going for decent duration walks. The last note about coffee is that it can be inflammatory, and we want our bodies to get rid of inflammation naturally. We don't want to contribute to it. And so I do aim perhaps by the 90-day mark to wean myself off of coffee to the maximum extent that I can, at least to the point where I can proclaim that I don't feel addicted. I'm no longer reliant on that coffee buzz or pick me up or the way it makes me feel after I have it in the morning. And lastly, I have a little preview and announcement I'm really excited to share, and that is, speaking of my 90-day mark, I'm excited to be scheduled as a guest on Dave Mack's No Carb Life YouTube channel. That'll be recorded in early August at my 90-day mark as a carnivore, and I'm really excited to share my thoughts and observations with Dave and his audience after 3 months on this SAD, which no longer stands for Standard American Diet, but Species Appropriate Diet. So if you aren't familiar with Dave Mack's No Carb Life channel, I'll put a link down below. Please check it out. Speaking of addictions, I'm addicted to the stories that he has his guests relate on his channel. It's fantastic. He's a wonderful host, so thoughtful, and he's just got a great manner to him. He lives in Japan, and I used to live in Taiwan, so it'll be a really fun time and great to be interviewed with Dave. And it's something for me to look forward to as I head towards 90 days on the carnivore lifestyle medicine. So as always, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate you watching. I'm doing this for myself to keep myself accountable, but if this means anything to you, if it's of any value, I really appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe if you are so motivated. And I always look forward to your comments below. So please comment if you have a channel and you're making your own carnivore related videos or lifestyle or health and fitness videos. Please let me know in the comments and I'll subscribe to you as well. So until my next video next week, please be good to yourself.